we'll build up the chat client application in stages. In the first step, we'll build a simple chat client which takes the user's message and then displays it on the screen. To get started, download the zip file that we have provided to you and then import the project into Android Studio. Once you have imported the project, you will notice that we have pre-configured certain parts of the project already for you. This is so that we can concentrate on those aspects of this app that are relevant to the knowledge that we are trying to get at this stage. After you import the project, let's go ahead and examine those parts that have already been completed, and then we will look at those parts that we need to complete. Go ahead and then open, first and foremost, the activity chat client.xml file. This is the layout of the user interface for our chat client. So in this layout, you will notice that there are three parts to the user interface. First and foremost, you have a list view that displays a list of messages. Then we have a edit text box which allows the user to enter their message, and then we have a send button which the user clicks in order to send the message. Now, within the code, the way this user interface is designed is that the edit text box and the send button are enclosed inside a linear layout, which is a horizontal linear layout, so that these two items can be positioned side by side on the UI. Now, the third part, the list view, is enclosed in another linear layout which is separate from the first one and then positioned on top of the linear layout down here. These two are then enclosed inside a relative layout so that they can be positioned on the screen appropriately. Now, to understand it better, let's switch to the text view of this layout. You will notice that there is the overall view group, which is a relative layout out there, and then we have two linear layouts inside this overall group, and then one of the linear layouts includes the edit text field and the button, and the second linear layout encloses just the list view. And using the positioning features available within the layout, we have positioned the linear layout with the text field and the button at the bottom of the screen. So you notice that I have aligned it to the parent bottom and then left and right of the parent. So this way, this linear layout is positioned right at the bottom of the screen. Now, the second linear layout, I have positioned it to be on top of the first linear layout. So that's why I say layout above and then specify the ID of the first linear layout. So using relative layout, you can position different items on the screen by specifying their relative positions on the user interface. So spend some time looking at this code and also the design view of this layout so that you understand how to design a bit more complex layouts for applications. In addition to this, we see that since we have a list view here, we need to design the layout for each one of those list items. This is available to you in the second layout file that we have provided for you called as message.xml. This message.xml file is again a layout with two text views, one for displaying the message, second for displaying the time. And both of these are enclosed inside a linear layout, which is a vertical linear layout. So these two are positioned one below the other in the vertical linear layout, with the message being positioned to the left side and the time value being positioned to the right side inside the linear layout. This linear layout is then enclosed inside a relative layout, which displays the whole message as a unit. So switching again to the text view, you will notice that we have a relative layout surrounding the linear layout, and inside the linear layout we have two text views. Spend a little bit of time looking at how we have positioned these two items inside the layout file here in order to achieve the UI design as seen in this layout here. Okay, after we finish looking at the two layout files, let's spend a little bit of time looking at the third part which has been completed for you. This is the message class that I have included. The message class is used to create message objects. The message class contains all the fields that enable you to store pieces of information related to a single message. So when you go in, you will notice that I have several variables here which store the message, the from name, meaning that who the message is from, the name of the sender, a Boolean field which stores whether this message is from me or from another sender, and also another field called as a date field where I store the timestamp for this message. All these are included inside here, and then you also notice that I have setter and getter methods for each one of these fields that are included here. Again, once you're familiar with Java, you will immediately understand why I have created all these different setter and getter methods for this message class. Now this message class is used to construct the various message objects that are going to store each single message for display on the screen. Now finally, we have two other Java files that are part of this project. One is chatclient.java, which I will examine in a little more detail. The second one is again a Java class called as myArrayAdapter. This myArrayAdapter is an extension to the ArrayAdapter that we have used for the list view in the previous example. I have extended this ArrayAdapter because later on, when I need to display messages from two different users on the screen, I need the flexibility that the custom adapter provides for me to construct the layouts of the messages on the screen. Now, this also enables us to understand how a typical array adapter works in practice. As I mentioned in the previous exercise, array adapters enable us to take the data and then construct views from the data. So we will see the construction of the message view from the message object inside this array adapter. So we need to fill in some part of the code. So I have set up parts of this class already for you to get you started quickly. We'll fill in some part of the code in order to construct the view. Finally, we have the chat client activity that we define in chatclient.java file. This is a standard activity description. This is what drives the entire application. So you will see that we have the on-click listener for the send button here. We have a reference to the edit text field here, and so on. So now we need to fill in some part of the code to be able to retrieve the message that the user types in and then display the message on the screen. So those parts we will fill in as we go through this exercise. Let us now go ahead and then edit the myArrayAdapter class to be able to construct the view from the message object. So to do that, we'll go into the getView method here and then add in the appropriate code here. So first and foremost, let's create a variable called as message view. Then we get access to the layout inflator that is available in Android. To get access to the layout inflator, in order to construct the view, we would say layout inflator and get access to the layout inflator. So we will say layout inflator and say context and get system service context and then layout inflator service. So once we get access to the inflator, we can then go ahead and construct our view using this inflator. Once we get hold of the inflator, let's now go ahead and inflate the message view from the message.xml file. So to do that, we'll say message view inflator inflate, and we'll say r.layout.message. So we are constructing this message view by using the message layout. The second one is the view group within which it resides, which is the parent. And finally, we will say false. So this statement enables us to inflate the message view. Now we would like to initialize the various text views inside this message view. So let's go ahead and get references to these text views and then set the values of these text views. From this message view, we'll now get the references to the two text views that are part of the message view. So let's say text view say message view, and then we'll say message view find view by ID and r.id dot, and then we'll get the message text view. That's one of the text views that we need. And so we should say text view, and then we are going to set this message view to the message string. So we'll say message view set text, and we'll say messages get the position. So we are trying to find the message at that particular position for which we are currently inflating the view, and then we'll say and then get message. So now we have initialized the message string there. The second part that we need to initialize is the time value. So we'll say time view is text view. Now again, message view and then find view by ID, and r.id dot will have the time text view there, and then we will say time view and then set text, and then for that particular message we'll say get time, and then we'll set the time value appropriately. Now once we have initialized the two text views in the message view, we can now go ahead and then return this message view from this method. So we'll say return message view, and so we have completed the update of the code for the array adapter. So when your UI is constructing the list view, it is going to call into this getView method and then be able to construct one item at a time that of the list view. So let's go ahead and save this change, and now we will go and edit the chat client .java file to complete this exercise. Let's now proceed to complete the code inside chat client.java file. So in here we see that the first place that we need to fill in the code is in the onCreate method. So here, first and foremost, let me get a reference to the list view. So we'll say message list view, which is part of the UI. So find view by ID. Message list. So now we have the access to the list view. So I'm next going to create the array list of type message. So I will say new array list of type message. Okay, so now that we have messages, then we are going to use this messages array list to construct the adapter in order to initialize the list view. So from the messages, we need to construct the array adapter. So I would say adapter new myArray adapter. We have seen that we have already created the myArray adapter. I'll supply the context, and then I would supply the messages as the second parameter here. Okay, so this helps me to construct the array adapter. Now I'm going to take this adapter and then use that to initialize the list view. So I would say message list set adapter. I would then say list adapter and then cast the adapter as the list adapter. So with this, I complete the modification to the onCreate method. So here, the four statements that I added. First, I got a reference to the list view. Then I created the messages array list. Then I created an adapter from the messages array list using the myArray adapter class that I implemented earlier. Then finally, I initialize the adapter for my list view to be equal to the adapter that I just created. So let me go ahead and make the save these changes. We will now go to the last part and then update the onClick method, so that when the user types in the message and clicks the send button, we'll be able to retrieve the message and add the message to the array list of messages. Coming down to the onClick, we'll now edit the code here to add in an appropriate set of code to handle when the user clicks the send button. So when the user clicks the send button, I have now retrieved the message from the edit text field. Now we need to create a new message object and then initialize the message object and then add this message object to the messages array list. Let me go ahead and create a new message object and then initialize it with the appropriate values. So I would say message new message, and the first parameter is the name of the sender. So since this message is created by the user himself or herself, so the first parameter is set to blank. The second parameter is the actual message, so that will be set to the mess string. The third parameter indicates whether this message is from the user or from the other person with whom you're communicating. Since this message has been created by the user, we'll set that value to true. And then finally, the last parameter sets the date value, so the timestamp. So I would say new date. So this completes the initialization of the new message object. Now, once I created the message object, let me go ahead and add this message object to messages. So I would say messages add message. And once I have added the message object, the third thing that I need to do is to indicate to the adapter that a new message has been added, so the user interface needs to be updated. So to do that, I would say madapter notify dataset changed. So calling this method called notify dataset changed causes the list view to read in the updated adapter and then refresh the list view so that the new message now becomes part of the screen. Finally, I will release the message object. It is no longer needed. And then also I will set the message text to blank. So with this, the modification to the onClick method is complete. With these changes, let's go ahead and then run this application and see how it works on the screen. Once your application is deployed to the emulator and starts running, this is what you will see on the user interface of the emulator. Or if you're using a real device, this is what you'll see on the real device. So let's go ahead and type in a message. So we'll say test. And when you click on the send button, you should see the message being displayed on the screen. So let's add one more. And you will see now how the simple chat client is able to keep adding messages. So now we have a fully functional simple chat client example. So it is able to display a message on the screen. In addition, it is able to show the time at which this message was input by the user. So now we see the fully functional simple chat client, which is able to display the messages on the screen, including the time at which the message was input. This completes this part of the exercise. Now we will move on to doing the assignment.